Welcome back to Construct. This is part 2 of Scrolls, and this is all about building a strong foundation for your book. So this is part 2 where we're going to be talking about copyright legalities, etc. So just as a reflection and review, I'm not going to go into this deeply, I'm just going to go through this quickly. What is Construct? A book without a strong construct has no objective, has no structure, is unpredictable in writing, does not flow when reading, is destined to take years, and is primed for overwhelm. Now, just like a tower, a book that has been well constructed is solid, has certainty in its uncertainty, is that aesthetically pleasing and welcoming, will take shape quickly, and will stand tall for years to come. So this is how to rock the training. You guys know this. Interact, ask, and share. So interact in your community group, ask questions, and share your thoughts, share your findings, etc. Take away 3 key learnings. So at the end of this, I want you to have 3 key learnings. So not 3 key learnings from Construct, 3 key learnings from this part B. So you should have 3 from part A, and then you'll have 3 from part B as well. Again, remember, go back and pick up some new key learnings once those 3 key learnings have really embedded themselves. Use the template. You'll have a few more templates coming your way with this section. Do use those. And set at least 3 actions and take action immediately. So apart from your 3 key learnings, I want you to have 3 things that you're going to do right now. That may be to build your copyright page, which is one of the templates that you'll have available to you. Take immediate action, do that straight away. And remember always to allocate time and manage yourself. So in this presentation, we're going to complete our last 3 steps of our 7 steps to a solid construction. So we've already so far gone through Amazon, the snowflake method, the beat sheet, and inclusions. Now in this training, we're going to look at copyright. We're going to look at referencing, and we're going to look at research. So let's get straight into copyright, and we're going to start with the legal aspects of copyright. So what about copyright and the legal stuff? Yeah, this is really what you want to need to know about. So let's start with defining some terms. So copyright versus copyright. So you've got copyright with an R and copyright with a W. Now, let's get really clear, first of all, what each of those mean. And the way that you define these, or the way that you can separate these easily, is to look at the word right versus right. Right with an R versus right with a W. Right with the W is to write words. Right with an R is in however you want to actually give the terminology to this, go for it. Whatever terminology you want to give it, I should say. So right as in, you can look at it as correct. You can look at it as in your rights, as in your legal rights, which is probably the most accurate one. So copyright, the first one with an R, is your right to maintain your copy, okay? Copyright with a W is the copy that you write, advertising, for example. So copyright with an R is your right for it to be yours, and for you to say it's yours, and for you to keep that, and for you to maintain it, and for nobody else to steal it. Copyright with a W is the copy that you actually create in your advertising, etc. I trust that makes sense. Now, copyright with the W we'll touch on next time in the next session, where we go into red carpet with marketing. This one, though, the legalities, is all about copyright with an R. Okay, so just to be really clear, copyright with an R is what we're talking about in this section. So let's have a quick look at your copyright page, because what you'll need to know about copyright with an R is around your own book, okay? So it's around maintaining your copyright and also maintaining the copyright of others. So looking at your own book, the first thing you want to do is put a copyright page in your book. Now, here in Australia, we have a law which states that copyright is automatic. You don't need to purchase copyright. Okay. In some other countries, you do need to actually purchase that copyright. So if you're not in Australia, please ensure that you look into that in your own country. But here in Australia, copyright is assumed. If you've written it, if you've created it, you have copyright. So that goes for everything. If you post something on Facebook, you have copyright. That also means that if you post something on Facebook that you've taken from someone else, you could be breaking copyright laws. So we'll go into that a little bit more, but something for you to start thinking about. So what you want to do in your book is have a copyright page, and let's have a look at what that means and what that looks like. Now, this is a template that you will be provided with that you can use right now. And all you do is you fill out all these little bits in blue, remove the part in red, which is just kind of a note for you. And this is not a strict, it's not a strict guideline. It is a guideline though. So you want to have your title. You want to have copyright C, which again is not necessary because you do have assumed copyright, but it's pretty normal procedure for us to do this. So copyright C, little copyright symbol, which is this one here, author's first name, author's family name, and the year. So for myself, it would be Carrie McTaggart, 2017. First published, the year the book was first published. So for me, I republished one of my books this year. So I had up here 2017, but I had first published 2015. And published by, put in the publisher's name and address. So for me, it'd be IM Publications, and then on the next line, I'll have the address. So it'll be Wantirna, Melbourne, Australia, or whatever it may be. You can just do Melbourne, Australia. You can just do Australia, or you can do the full address, whatever you want to do. Remembering that it's published by your publishing company. So email, put in your email address here and ensure that this is an email address that you'll have for the long term. If you're using a Hotmail or Gmail and that's likely to change, don't put it in. This is you don't need to have this in. This is stuff that you can put in if you want to, but it's not necessary. Like you might not want to put your phone number in, but if you have a business set up and you have a business email address and a business phone and a business website that's not likely to change anytime soon, pop that in. Remember that anyone who buys this book as a hard copy is going to have those details forever. Well, for as long as they've got the book. So that is why you want to make sure it is something that you're going to have for the long term. Now, this next section is all rights reserved, and this is pretty typical. You can just use this, or you can search for something else, but I would recommend this is a good one to use. This has been taken from copyright.org.au, so this is an official terminology that I'm using here. All rights reserved without limiting the rights under copyright reserved above. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in or introduced into a database and retrieval system or transmitted in any form or any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording or otherwise, without the written permission of both the owner of copyright and the above publishers. So let me just move that up. There we go. Original illustration. So if you actually have an illustration cover or a photo on the cover, pop them in here. Like it's just nice to do, yeah. And it is also legally you need to do this because they have copyright of the illustration. Okay, if they've done it for you, if they've taken a photo or created an illustration for you, it's their copyright. So you need to actually give them that reference. Put their name in here. Okay, printed by, if it's been printed by a particular company, pop that in. This one's not highly necessary, but it's highly, highly, highly recommended. Again, it's a nice thing to do. So, and then down here again, title of book, your surname, your first name, and then the ISBN numbers. Now the ISBN numbers, don't worry about that too much. That'll be introduced when we go through, let me see, when we get to L and we start actually setting up your book to be published. I'll show you how to get a free ISBN, which otherwise would cost you money. And then this down here, if you've probably seen this in books and you might not know what it's referring to. It simply means first edition. If this started with 2, 3, 4, 5, it would be second edition. If you look at Harry Potter books, they'll be like 63, 64, 65. So it's telling you it's the 66th edition, or 63rd edition, I should say. So the edition number relates to whatever the lowest number is in here. So it can go this way, it can go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can be all over the place. It can be, sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. However you work it is fine. Rock on. I like it this way, and I just put it in my books this way. So this is a template that you can use. Let's go on to the next one. So copyright legalities. Sorry, I'll go into that before I go on. Copyright legalities. So in regard to your copyright, as I mentioned before, the copyright is assumed, okay? Which means that you have copyright on anything that you've created. That also goes for everyone else, which means that if you're using somebody else's work, if you're referring to someone else's work, if you're utilizing a quote, if you're utilizing an image, anything at all, they have copyright. Therefore, you need to do what you need to do to ensure that you're not breaking copyright laws, because you don't want people doing that with you either. You don't want people stealing your stuff, yeah? So we'll go into that a little bit more shortly. Use of materials we'll go into a bit shortly, as well as in how to use materials and ensure you're meeting copyright laws and getting permissions. So I've got a few templates that will be available for you that you can use to get permissions. Okay, and I'll go into that more in a moment. And sign-offs. So using the materials of other people is okay if you have permission and sign-off. So let's go over that a little bit more. So copyright of works. Firstly, in regard to copyright, as I've mentioned several times already, you retain your own copyright naturally. Fair use. This is something you need to be aware of when you're utilizing somebody else's work. There's a fair use policy whereby if you use a small part of somebody's work, then you can just reference it. If you use a large part or a substantial part of somebody's work, then you need to get permission. Okay, let me say that again. You can refer or use a small part of somebody's work and just reference. If you want to use a large component, a large part, or something substantial, you need to get their permission. Okay, and this goes back to the list a moment ago with permissions and sign-offs, and we will go into that a little bit more. You need to also be aware of defamation. So in your book, if you're referring to other people and you're referring to them in a way that could be considered defamatory, you need to get their permission. You need to get sign-off. Okay. If you're talking about them in a positive light, this usually doesn't come into play. Because it's not defamation. But if you're saying something that could damage their character that is not already being proven to be true, and there is some grey area here, it could be considered defamation. Okay. Now, I've included here a quick resource, copyright.org.au. They're fantastic. They actually have free legal advice. So if you're ever concerned, you can definitely give them a call and get proper legal advice, because what I'm giving you here, let me just be really clear, this does not constitute legal advice. Okay. Please consult an attorney or legal representative if required. And then you've got copyright.org.au that you can definitely speak to as well. So defamation is defamation of character, where you have portrayed someone in a non-positive light or in a way that is not considered factual or may not be considered factual. Okay. Now, there's no clear line of what is and what is not defamation. So where it comes down to is if a person recognizes themselves in your book and they believe it is defamation, they feel like their character has been tarnished, they can then sue for defamation. Okay, obviously courts and blah, blah, blah. But you really want to avoid that, right? The way you avoid that is through permissions, sign-offs, etc., which we'll go into in a minute. Now, if you cannot, and this is not legal advice, again, this is me speaking to you with the knowledge that I do have and advising you to get legal advice. If you're including someone or something or an incident in your book and you haven't named them, but it's obvious who they are, you can still be liable. Okay? So if it is a situation and somebody recognizes themselves in your book and says, hey, that's defamation, or hey, they're painting me in a bad picture, they can still follow this process. All right. So just by leaving a name out doesn't mean that you're okay. I just want to make that really clear right now. There is a lot of care that needs to be taken here when dealing with other persons. Okay. So then we come into invasion of privacy, which is along those lines as well. Again, invasion of privacy does not have a strict line of what is and what isn't. Okay. A lot of these laws don't have strict lines of what is or what isn't. What it comes down to is if somebody believes that their privacy has been invaded, or that you are defaming them, they can take steps to go down that road of suing you. Let's just not even beat around the bush. They can go down that path. It doesn't mean they'll win or they won't, but they can definitely open that up. So it's better to just avoid all that from the start, and I'll show you ways to do that in a moment. Invasion of privacy, like I said, there's no strict guidelines on what this means. However, if someone believes that something has been publicly shared that should be private, they can go down that pathway. And here's the thing, guys, this might make a couple of you freak out a little bit. If somebody posts a photo, and even though they've made it public, if you share that photo, they could still claim it as invasion of privacy. Now, they probably don't have a lot to stand on because they've shared it publicly in the first place. But what if they've only shared it with their friends and then you've shared it publicly, as an example? What I'm saying is, be very careful when you share somebody else's personal information, image, etc. I'm always checking. Like I have at the moment, I have a picture on my wall that is me and another person, and I keep checking in with him constantly. Are you still okay for me? Is that okay to have that up there? Let me know if there's a problem. I'll take it down straight away. And I'm really, really conscious of that. So I kind of advise you guys to start thinking that way as well. Just because how would you want yourself splashed up there in that same way? Okay. And another situation I had recently, a friend who her daughter is 14, and she had a conversation with someone via text, and that person took that text conversation and put it on YouTube for a laugh. That is invasion of privacy. That is defamation. She could sue them, and I advised my friend as such. Anyway, just some things to think about and to be aware of. And with this changing world, you know, those laws will be defined. At the moment, there's so much grey area, but they will get further defined as we move along. What I'm going to do, though, is make sure that you don't have to worry about these things and that you're not going to have these issues. And the way we do that is through getting permissions. So there's 4 forms here that I want to mention: general release form, release request form, quotation approval form, and reprint permission form. The reason all of these forms are here for you, and they'll be available for you to download, is so that you can make sure you cover your butt in all ways possible. Okay, and I'll go through what each of these forms are and what they include. So the general release form is if you're mentioning a business name. Okay, this is where it gets really nitty-gritty, guys. So if you mention a business name or you mention a person, general release form allows you to do that. You send them the general release form, say, hey, I'd love to mention you in this. Is that cool? Can you sign off? Yes, done. If they don't use them. So what I mean by that, as an example, is in my first novel, I referred to an artist and I referred to one of his paintings. And I messaged him and got his permission to utilize that. And he was stoked because it was free advertising for him. But I messaged him and said, hey, do you mind if I use this? This is the way I'd like to use it. This is the context in which I'm going to use it. Would that be okay? He said, yeah, absolutely. It's like, sweet, awesome. So if you're using a business name as well, just a general release form, can I use your business name? This is the context in which I'll be using it. They say, yep, sign off. If they don't, create a different one. So for me, for my most recent book that I wrote, I utilized a hospital that I know of, and I used some of the structures within it, but I changed all the names. I changed the location. I changed the name of the hospital. I changed a lot of the things around it while keeping some of the components, so it could actually be any hospital, which means I didn't have to get permission, because there's no one would read it and go, oh, that's definitely this hospital. There's no link to say that it is that hospital. Okay. Excuse me. So the next one is the release request form. This one is great for if you're utilizing conversation or you're talking about someone in particular or an event in particular. And also this is the one that you'll use for images, okay? So if you have an image and there is someone in it that is not you, you need their permission. Doesn't matter who it is, you need their permission to include a photo, whether that be on your cover or inside. If you include a photo and it has someone other than yourself, each person in that photo needs to sign a release form, okay? If it is a non-flattering photo, you could also be open for defamation. So that release form is going to cover your butt in a few different ways. If it's, say, the back of them and you can't tell who it is and nobody's going to know, you can get away with it. However, I would say to protect yourself, still get it. Like, especially if you can, just do it. If it is someone that's passed away and anyone may have an issue with it, get the next of kin's permission. Okay. If it's someone that's passed away that it's not going to be a problem, then you should be fine. Again, I always say it's better to be safe than sorry. Any image that you use that you get off the internet, and I'll show you how to work this out in a moment. If it's got a common license, and I'll go into what that means shortly. If it's got a Creative Commons license, you can just reference it. If it has anything other than that, so if it's copyright on it or further copyright above Creative Commons, you need to either get permission or purchase it. Okay, I'm going to show you shortly how to find free photos online that you can use that have a Creative Commons license, which means you can just reference them or actually you can even edit them and not reference them. I'll show you that in a moment. What I need you to know now is that if anything that you use that does not belong to you, that you didn't create, you need to consider whether you need a request form, approval, permission, sign off, etc. Now, so the release, and have a look at all of these because you'll get a better idea for them. So the release request form is great for interviews. If you've had an interview with someone and you want to use their details, it's great for conversations that you want to share. It's great for events that you want to share. It's great for images. Anything like that, just get the sign off and then you've got no issues, okay? With the release request form too, if you can actually put in the details specifically of what you'd be including in the book in that part, even better, because then they'll actually get a sign off on directly on what you're putting in the book. Next is the quotation approval forms. Now, if you're using a quote from someone, even if this has just been said to you, okay, you need to get the quotation approval form. If you're using a quote that's well known, that's online, that's been attributed to someone, that's fine. You can use that and you can just attribute it, cite it, reference it. But if you're using a quotation that somebody has said, you need to get the quotation approval form. If you're using a quotation that's not well known and hasn't been cited online, you need to do the quotation approval form. Okay. If you're quoting from a book, you can usually just reference. And we'll go into that more soon. So reprint permission forms. A reprint permission form is, remember how I said before with the fair use policy where if you're using a large chunk, you need to get permission? This is where this comes in. So a reprint permission form would be if you wanted to, say, use someone's poem. You've probably seen some books. I know that Dean Koontz, I believe, does this. I think Stephen King does as well. There's quite a few authors that they'll start their book with a poem by someone else, okay? That is a full reprint. You need a reprint permission form on that, okay? You need a reprint permission form if you're taking a large chunk of information from somebody else's work. You can't just reference it, and if you're using a large chunk. What constitutes a large chunk? That's a difficult one. If in doubt, get a permission form done. And that's what it all comes down to. If in doubt, just get the approval, get the permission. If you can't get the permission, don't use it. Simple as that, okay? Don't be attached to the outcome. So if they say no, don't be attached to what's in there, find something else. All right, beautiful. So next we are on to finding freebies. So I mentioned before that I'm going to take you through a few ways to find free pictures, etc. Let's do that now. So let's start off with some of the options that are available to you. So these are, I call these free resource libraries: Canva, Google, Videvo, and copyright.org.au. So I'm going to work backwards on these. Copyright.org.au is fantastic for legal advice around copyright. Okay, it's got a whole heap of downloads, information sheets, etc. So really, really, really fantastic. Videvo.net is where you can find free videos. Now, this is not going to affect your book as such, but it can definitely affect your advertising. So the last book that I did, I made a quick 60-second video as advertising for that book. And there's a video in there, like there's a short video within that presentation that I created, which is of the guy typing. And I got that for Videvo and for free, okay? And it's like it's about 10-second video, and it's just popped into that. So Videvo.net is great for sourcing free videos. Okay, there will be ones that you need to pay for, so just be aware when you're looking at that, if that you either get a one that you pay for and you pay for it, or you find a free one. Google, awesome resource library. I'm going to show you specifically how you can use Google to get free images in a moment. And Canva. So Canva is great for creating images and creating covers, and we'll go into that in, let's see, yes, the next session. So when we get into red carpet, I'll actually take you through how to design a whole cover using Canva for free, which is pretty epic. So it's great. Like all of the images that you see that I create, memes, etc., are done through Canva. It's fantastic. It's really, really easy to use and free. There is options, paid options on there, but you can do it completely for free. And you can even upload your own pictures and use those in what you're creating as well. So here is the trick. Now, I mentioned before about Creative Commons license. Creative Commons license basically means you can take this thing and you can rock forth, okay? A Creative Commons license is placed on materials other people are happy to have shared as much as possible, okay, which means you can use it. Now, there is one problem with this, is it doesn't necessarily mean you can use it for commercial use, okay? Commercial use is, for example, a book that you're going to sell. So you do need to be careful of that, and I'm going to show you some ways around that in a moment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to find royalty-free images through Google, okay? And then I'll show you the other websites quickly as well. But let's start with this, royalty-free images through Google. And I'm also going to show you this website here, tineye.com, to check royalty costs for things that aren't free. All right, so let's have a look at that. I will just share my Google page. Awesome, so here we are on Google. Now what I'm going to show you here is how you can find images that you can use commercially for free. So you can use them on your cover, you can use them in your book. Now, if you just take any image off Google, you risk copyright laws, you risk breaking copyright laws. This method I'm about to show you is where you can actually find images that are commercially available for you at no cost, and you can even make adjustments and change them. I'm also going to show you how to reverse engineer this. So if you find a picture that you want to use, you can find where it's available and how much it would cost. All right, so let's start with finding our free images. So we're in Google here, and just say your book is on finding the flow, and you think, you know what would be nice? A waterfall. So you're thinking, let's do a waterfall. So do a search on waterfall. First step is to click on images so we can see the waterfall images. Now, if you chose any of these images, you could be grabbing something that has copyright on it. And it's not a good way to go. So a lot of these things, they'll all have copyright on them, but you could be selecting something that has a copyright level that you don't have access to, and then you open yourself up to being sued, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to show you is a really, really quick and easy way right now to limit these photos that are in front of you to only those that you are allowed to take and change and use commercially. So click on settings, go to advanced search. Awesome. And we need to scroll down to this box down here that says usage rights. Now at the moment it's not filtered by license, so we're going to change that. Now we can change it to free to use or share even commercially, but we're going to go one step further. Free to use, share or modify even commercially, and then hit advanced search. So now it's limited to the pictures that you can use right now without paying anything. And you can change it and you can do whatever and you can rock forth, and it's very cool. Now, there was an image that I saw here before and it's not coming up on this one. So maybe there's an image that you want that's not on this free list and you're like, well, I'm happy to pay for it because I really like it. So you need to find out where you can purchase it. So we're going to do that next. So just to re-clarify on that, settings, advanced settings, able to be used, modified, even commercially, and those are the pictures you can utilize. Now, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the license filter and go back to the other images so I can show you how to reverse find an image. So there was one I've seen down here, this one that I really liked, and maybe I've seen this one and gone, that's perfect for my book. I'm going to click on it and open it up. I want this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find it through an app called TinEye, okay, or a page called TinEye. So first I'm going to do, on this image, I'm going to right click, this will come up, and I'm going to click copied image address, not copy image, copy image address. Now that's going to save it to the desktop, okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this site, tineye.com. And it's a reverse image search. I'm just going to press Control-V and I'm going to paste in the link to the image address and hit search. Now what's this going to do? It's going to search a ridiculous number of images on the internet, in fact 22.8 billion images on the internet, and it's going to find all the results. So this picture appears 47 times out of 22.8 billion images. What I really care about though is this here, stock, because stock means I can buy it. These results, wonderful. 47 people have used the image, doesn't mean anything to me. What I want is to be able to buy it. Now, if you don't have this option here, it means the picture is not able to be purchased. Let it go, move on, find another one. But in this case, we can purchase it, and there's a couple of places we can purchase it from. We can get it from Shutterstock, Fotolia, Shutterstock again, Stickstock, and another Shutterstock one. So let's click on this one, and we're going to click on the picture address. So you can see here from that little label that it's going to take us to the Shutterstock picture. And the awesome thing is it's going to tell us how much it's going to cost to buy it. So we're into Shutterstock. Now, at the moment, it's going to have this watermark on it because we can't take it. At the moment, it would be illegal for us to use it. We need to purchase it, okay? So let's have a look. Now, so you can choose the size, small, medium, large. If you're going to use it for cover, you're going to use large. Now, you've got here a button to download, okay? And I just want to point out for you, oh, and you can actually choose it for different Facebook, Twitter. Didn't know that. Beautiful. I'm going to show, okay, let's just click this. I want to show you what happens. So if you click download, it's going to give you these options. Now, you might think the easy option would be, oh, okay, well, I'll just buy 5 images. It's $9.80 per image. Yeah, great, but you can't use them commercially yet. Okay, so this is a little trick that I need you guys to know. So let's go to view all image plans. So let me just say that again while it's loading. If you purchase an image straight away through that pattern or through that strategy right there, you do not have a license to use it commercially yet. Okay, you just have the image. You've bought the image. Wonderful, awesome. Doesn't mean you can use it yet. So what you need to look at is the different pricing, the different subscriptions. So if you're likely to use a lot of photos on Shutterstock, rock on, get a subscription. What I want to show you here is standard license versus enhanced. Okay. Now I'm hoping I actually am not a member of Shutterstock, so I'm looking for it to tell me the differences. I know what they'll be. Here we go. Beautiful. So this is what you need to be aware of. Standard versus enhanced. No limits to use of image. Cool. You can use it with standard or enhanced. Available for worldwide. Available for digital reproductions, which means you can use it on your ebook. Excellent. This is the one that you need to be aware of. Unlimited physical reproductions, books, magazines, advertising posters, and packaging. Standard license up to 500,000. Enhanced license unlimited. So if you think that you're going to sell a lot of copies, and let's face it, if you're looking at doing this for your business, you certainly want to, it's going to be worth looking at an enhanced license so you don't have to consider this down the track. I trust that makes sense. There's also these other limitations as well. Legal indemnification, up to 10K per image, up to 250 per image. So they're giving you licenses, but they're also giving you options for the fact that they might have stuffed up. That's probably the nicest way to say it. Copies of web or print templates, copies of merchandise for sale. So the standard license, you can't really use it on your merchandising. Enhanced license, you can. I trust that you're seeing why it's really important to know the difference between these two, and why, if you're going to buy it, if you're going to pay for an image, you might as well go enhanced to cover your butt. Now let's just go enhanced. 2 images, $200. You can now see why I said to you guys to prep yourselves for it. Now subscriptions are available but it's only on the standard license. Okay, so you can get a subscription which will give you, say, 10 images a month for $50 a month. But if you want enhanced, you're still going to have to buy this. Yeah. So on demand is the only way you can get enhanced, and I highly, highly recommend you get enhanced. Otherwise, you're going to have to limit the use on your image, and you're going to have to limit how many books you can sell. You will have to pull it down in the future if you get anywhere close to those numbers. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Enhanced, I recommend 2 images. Find 2 images and just purchase that. If something else suits you, awesome, do that. So that is how you find, and you'll find other options that might be cheaper. You'll find other options that are more expensive. Remember, we've only looked at Shutterstock. There is also the other couple of options available to you. So have a look, compare, but do not use a photo that you found without buying it unless you found it through the Creative Commons license, through settings, advanced search, and that you've got the permission to use it commercially. Okay, because remember, you're using it commercially. If you're selling a book, you're using it commercially. Okay, you can definitely have a look at the other options and see what their prices are though. But that is how you do it. That is how you find a free image on Google, and also how you reverse find an image so you can see what the royalties are and how much it will actually cost you to purchase it. I trust that's been helpful. Now, the next thing I want to do is just quickly touch on the other pages that are available to you for freebies. As I mentioned, canva.com. It's fantastic. You'll see, you might recognize some of these images in here. I use them for regular posts. I use them for my book covers. This is a book cover I'm playing with at the moment. Some of my previous book covers are in here. The previous book covers, things that I've played with, ideas that I've had, things that haven't really, panned out. And then I'll have memes in here as well. Other ones, other posts that you guys are probably familiar with, flyers that I've created. A picture that you're probably familiar with again. Other ones that you would never have seen that I've taken down because I wasn't happy with them. A whole bunch of different memes and different ideas. Images I've uploaded myself. Memes I've created from images I've uploaded myself. So that's all the kind of things that you can do with it. And I'll take you through a whole process of how to actually create your book cover as well. So just to show you, for example, here's one of my book covers. So this is Cupid's Guide. And when this loads up, so I've got in here, I've got my front cover when it loads. And I've also got the back cover, which is not completely loading right now. That's okay. And I do have my back cover as well, which I did create on here. I'm not too sure why that's not coming up, but all good. Canva can be a little temperamental at times, but it is free and it is fantastic. And if you do want to start working on a cover design right now, what I recommend is go to Explore Templates, Book Covers. It's available for you right now. This is where I started creating this one. Rock forth on that. The other thing I want to show you really quickly is videmo.net. Searching for, I'm just searching what I searched for my one. And it's going to bring you up a bunch of they're little short footages that you can like utilize right now, that you can utilize for free. Okay, so this is the one I used, and it's literally just this guy tapping on the keyboard for like 10 seconds, but it was exactly what I needed. So I believe that's everything for that section. Let me take you back to the PowerPoint presentation. Beautiful. Okay, so I showed Canva, Google, the demo, and I didn't show you copyright.org. Let me show you copyright.org very quickly. I don't think I have. Oh yes, there we go. So this is copyright.org.au. It's Australian Copyright Council. So you can get legal advice. Okay, there's trainings in here. They've got webinars. They've got find and answer. And they have, I believe, legal advice service as well. Okay, so this is fantastic if you have any questions, specifically legal questions, which I'm not able to answer because I'm not in that space. These are the people to go to that are going to be able to help you out. Okay, rock on. Let's go back to the presentation. Awesome. So next we're going to look at referencing. Excuse me. All right, so there's a research plan template and a research journal that's included with the 90-day challenge. So if you do the 90-day challenge, you'll have some extra templates available to you as well. So referencing style and consistency, we're going to look at quickly. We're going to look at referencing different materials. We're going to look at in-text referencing and footnotes in comparison to reference list. Now, what I want to go through before we go through those things is the things that you need to remember. So remember, if it is not your work, reference. If you quote someone, reference. If you're using your own pre-published work, reference. Yes, you've even got to reference yourself. If it's published, you have to reference it. And if ever in doubt, reference. That's what it comes down to. So let's go through each of these just briefly. So referencing style and consistency. There's quite a few different referencing styles out there, and you can Google reference style to find out what these are. The main thing is to choose one and stick with it. Be consistent. Now, the reference style that I use is Harvard. I'm quite familiar with it, and I can consistently use it. So choose a referencing style and use the same consistency the whole way through. So what I recommend is that you choose a style and then you find out, you get a printout of all the, how you would reference all the different materials. Okay. What I mean by that is if you're referencing a book, this style will be slightly different, or the way that you need to present that style will be slightly different than if you're referencing a web page. If you're referencing a journal, it'll be different again. If you're referencing an anthology, different again. If you're referencing a book that's been written by one author compared to 3 authors, different again. So you need to be aware of all these different referencing styles, referencing for images, referencing for quotes, etc. So choose a referencing style, be consistent, and find out the different referencing options for the different materials available. Now, in-text referencing is, you've probably read books before and you'll see something written, it'll be in regard to someone's research, or it'll be an idea or thought, and it'll be brackets, it'll be a name and a year. So that is your in-text referencing. You must in-text reference so that people know where that reference is and what that reference refers to. So for example, if you were to quote someone, you might just underneath it put dash their name, okay, as a reference to who is actually who the quote's from. If you're referring to a statistic, you would definitely want to use in-text referencing of, in brackets, surname of the authors, and then comma and year. Now, depending on your referencing style that you've chosen to use, it might be, just say you had 3 authors, it might be all their surnames, or it might be the first surname et al, or it might be just the first surname, depending on your reference style. How you'll know what to do is because you'll have your reference style listed. You'll know exactly what you need to put in text as well as what you need to put at the end. If all else fails, go with Harvard. Harvard is very straightforward and simple and very well known. Okay, Harvard referencing system. Now, once you've got your in-text reference, that's great, but now we need to let people know a bit more about the reference, as in where you found the reference, where they can find it themselves so that they can do their own research if they wish to. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do it as a footnote, or you can do it in the reference list. So if you're going to do it as a footnote, you might see sometimes in a book, it'll just have, instead of having in the brackets the name and the year, it'll have just like a number 1. And then down the bottom of the page, it'll be 1 and it'll have the full reference. So you can do that. And I recommend that you look at books for this, okay? Definitely have a look at books and see how they're doing. Yeah, see how they're doing it. So the other option is to do a reference list. So this is where your in-text referencing will be the name, comma, year. And then at the end of your book, you'll have a whole reference list of, like, you know, whether it be 5, whether it be 10, whatever it may be. So I remember when I was writing my my thesis at uni, I had about 120 references. So because a thesis, it's all research. So it's all researching other people's research and then adding your own research. So it was literally, I think there was one part which was it was actually specifically a study of previous research. So there was about, you know, probably 50, 60 references in that part itself. So the in-text referencing was crazy. And then at the end, you had the full reference list. Now, something like that, I wouldn't have footnoted. If you've only got 1 or 2 references throughout your book, you may choose to footnote. And again, this goes back to, what does your audience want to see? And do they want to be able to access more resources? So you can do a reference list that just refers to references inside the book, things that you've used in the book, or you might do a bibliography where you actually list more resources that are available from, say, the same authors or related works, okay? So completely up to you how you do this. This is me giving you thoughts and ideas and saying what's possible. And I hope you get that. There is no strict guideline here. The only guideline is to reference the material if it's not yours, and if you're not sure if you should reference it, okay? So inside, it's also called citing, so you might hear it called citing. In-text referencing or in-text citing, make sure you have that, whether it's the number linking to the footnote or it's the surname and year listing, linking to your reference list at the end, okay? Whatever it is though, just make sure you've referenced it. The reason is, give credit where credit's due, yeah? Besides the fact of it being legal and copyright and making sure that you don't get yourself in trouble, give value where, and give appreciation and gratitude for value that you're providing that somebody else has given you. Okay, let us know if you have any questions. Make sure that you do post it in the group if anything's unclear or if you have any questions. I trust that that's given you something to work with. And if you are doing the 90-day challenge, there is a lot more that we go into around that as well. We give you some more resources, including templates and journals. So lastly, we're going to look at research. Now, this is the fun part. And again, in the 90-day program, you get a little bit more on this because you do get the research journal to assist you with this. So I want to give you 7 tricks for an effective research strategy. Number 1, align to your message versus procrastination. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, are you researching something that aligns to your message, or are you researching because you're procrastinating? Are you researching cats, or are you researching your message? So there's been quite a few times where I'll go off on a tangent and I'll start researching something and I'll stop myself and go, wait, I can do that later. Come back and focus on my message and what I'm doing right now. So sometimes I will go off and I will start researching. I do this, guys. So this is why I'm sharing it. I research for procrastination. This is something I'm aware of, and it is something that I take note of when I'm doing. Okay, that's the trick. So sometimes I'll research one thing and then I'll be like, oh, but what about this? And then it'll be like, oh, so, okay, so what's this word mean? I don't know what that is. I'll research that. And before you know it, I'm researching freaking puppies. Okay, it's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. It takes you off on a tangent. So align to your message. If you find yourself researching and you take a moment and go, hold on, why am I researching this? Be really clear. Am I researching it because it is something that's going to provide value that takes me towards my message? Or am I researching it because I got distracted? That's your key to research. That is your number 1 trick for effective research strategy. Number 2 is to develop a research plan. So before you even start researching, develop a research plan. Now, in the 90-day challenge, we do this. We do this together and we make it happen. So develop a research plan. Now, what a research plan is, okay, what do I need and where? In this part of my book, I want to place this, and this is the reason, and this is where I can potentially get it. Okay, so it's actually planning out what research you're going to do so that when you start your research, you don't get distracted because you already know what you need to research. I trust that makes sense. Collect your data according to your research plan. Don't go outside of your research plan. Once you've got your research plan, which will be, here's the thing, let me just link it all up for you now. Once you've got your research plan, which is aligned with your beat sheet, which is based on your message, okay? Once you've got that research plan, you have no reason to go outside of it because you already know exactly what you need to complete your beat sheet to deliver your message. So collect your data according to your research plan. Stick within that. You won't be able to procrastinate. There won't be an option for it. And record everything. So when you're doing your research, note down websites that you go to, note down cool things that jump out, note down authors, note down other things that maybe might link to it later. And be careful of that one. That one's an option for procrastination. So I'm just going to kind of remind you if it's going to align with your message. If it doesn't align with your message, don't put it down. But I recommend that you record everything, right? Put down everything. And there'll be some things that you don't end up using, and that's cool. You might use it when you write your second book, okay? Don't go and procrastinate and do the research on it. Just take down the web link. You might go, oh, that's interesting. Web link, copy, paste, done, okay? Move on, but record everything. So finding information. How are you going to find information? I'm just going to put it out there that Google should be your best friend. Google is amazing. I've shown you how to find free pictures now. Google is fantastic for finding anything that you need. And I'll give you a little kind of tip on Google as well, there's something called Google Scholar where you can search journals. Okay, so Google's great for finding general information. You got WikiNut out there, which is great for general information. Now, here's the thing with Wiki. Never rely on Wikipedia. Sorry, WikiNut's the writing site. Never rely on Wikipedia to give you facts. Always, if you use anything from Wikipedia, go down to the bottom of the Wikipedia page where the references are and go to the reference. Get the source of the information. Never rely on Wikipedia. Go to the source of the information that Wikipedia has used. If there is no reference to that information, do not believe it. Research it, find it yourself. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. Okay? Trust that makes sense. Do not rely on Wikipedia. But you can definitely use it as a resource library to take you to that next step where you will find what you need. Rock on with that. What else? Yes, so Google Scholar. I wanted to speak to you about Google Scholar. In fact, let me just show you Google Scholar. Okay. I'm literally searching Google Scholar and it will come up with a Google page that says Google Scholar. This one here, scholar.google.com.au. Google Scholar. Now in here I can search articles. So this is a more academic approach to research. Okay, so if you're researching stats, if you're researching, like if you want to drop a statistic in there for whatever reason, as long as your reader requires it, if you're researching for evidence, if you're researching for examples, if you're researching for something that you think you need to make a connection with but haven't yet, this is the place to go, Google Scholar. Okay, and then whatever you put in, just say I'm searching for quantum, I don't even know what this means, quantum wellness. Quantum wellness, a practical guide to health and happiness. How cool is that? So instantly that's going to give me places that I can go to get more information. Okay, it's just like a library. Love it, so good. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay. And use inductive research versus deductive. What do I mean by that? Deductive research is just making conclusions. Inductive research is thinking outside the box. Okay, so think about how you can research rather than just going, well, this is how I research. So what I mean by deductive, okay, so how do I research? I go to Google and I do scholars search. What's inductive research? How else can I get that information? Well, I can go to my reader and ask them. You go back to your intentions and benchmarks, look at who your reader is, find someone who aligns with your reader and ask them, what do they want to read? What do they want in your book? What inclusions do they want? Do they want to do exercises? How long should the book be? And ask them all those details. Also ask them, like I said, what do they actually want in the book? What do they want you to research? What do they want you to share? What do they want that you don't know about that you can then go research? What do they not want that you thought that they did that maybe you can go, okay, maybe I won't put that in. Again, don't rely on one person, find many. Okay, and what you start doing too is you start building connections with the people that will be your readers. So you can say, look, I'm writing this book, would love to get your input. Excellent, blah, 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 blah. Now, once it comes out, I'd love to give a copy of the book to you. Would that be okay? Cool, can I grab your details? And if you and I do recommend that you do that too. If somebody's going to take their time to give you that information and help you, just give them a copy of the book. Yeah, pretty awesome. So that's an effective strategy to start pre-selling your book, even though it's not actually money in your pocket. It's pre-selling copies of your book, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, back to inductive research. How else can I research? Because it's not just about sitting in front of your computer. It's also about getting in front of people, networking events, meeting people on the street, having a conversation. Every conversation I have goes back to writing in some way, shape, or form, because it's so much a part of who I am. Your message should be that for you, okay? Your message should be so much a part of who you are and what you share that every conversation goes there. And if every conversation's going there, everyone you speak to might want your book, I'm just saying. And you can ask them questions about what they want in it. And when you tell them that you're writing a book and you ask them for their assistant, how epically cool is that? Take note of who you're talking to as well. You might want to write them in the acknowledgements, which would be another boost for them. See, it's all this circular amazingness. It's this circular gratitude and appreciation. So good. So let's move on. Last one is do your market research. So the market research really comes back to what we were saying before in part A with Amazon. Know who your competitors are, but also take it outside of Amazon. Know who your competitors are outside of Amazon, who they are for your business, and know your market. So this goes back to having those conversations with your reader as well. Find your reader, find where they hang out, have conversations, start getting online now and connecting with them, okay? Start doing your market research for your book with your market. There's no point avoiding your market. If you're writing a book for them, ask them what they want, yeah? Great way to research. I think it's a fantastic way to research. So what's the next steps? Where to from here? When my thing catches up, oh, skipped my page. Well, you already know what's on that page, but I'm going to go through it anyway. So the next steps are to ask, interact, and share with the tribe. Let me see if I can just go back a page, actually. Previous. There we go. Write down your 3 key learnings, as per always. Write down your 3 actions. Benchmark them and set a date. Now, I would recommend that within those 3 actions, one of those is to do a research plan. Yeah. Allocate time and manage yourself. This is a big section of the program. Construct is so important. You've got your intentions and benchmarks. If you haven't done your intentions and benchmarks, you need to leave this now and do those first. They're the spine, okay, of everything. This is the construction of how you will create your book right now in Construct. So allocate your time and manage yourself. This is a big one. It's okay. Got your back. Know your outcome without attachment. Remember to know where you're going, but be okay with finding the cracks instead of banging up against a wall that's blocked. All right? Make the cracks bigger. Find that path of least resistance that is going to take you to the best possible outcome, and grow as you grow. Allow your outcome to grow as you grow throughout this as well. So what did you feel? What did you learn? What did you love? And most importantly, what are you going to do right now? Thanks for joining me again. Speak to you next time. Bye.